Alright, my dudes. So, if you watched my last video, you know that I was set up to be waiting another month and a half before I got top surgery. Well, literally while editing that video, I got a call from the surgeon's office that there had been a cancellation and did I want to have my surgery much earlier. So that's fantastic, I'm really excited about it, but functionally what that means is... I didn't realize how reflective my glasses were. Functionally what that means is I have 9 days to make a recovery Banyan. Yeah, I'm gonna make a Banyan. Banyan? I'm gonna make a thing. I'm gonna make basically a historically inspired fancy bathrobe. This is some fabric I picked up at S.R. Harris in Minneapolis. This one I know for sure is cotton. It looks and feels like cotton. It was in the cotton section. This was also in the cotton section. I am not convinced it is 100% cotton. It might just be that the weave is confusing me, but it kind of has a linen feel to it. Alright, I cut this out off screen, but this is a Banyan pattern from Cloak & Tailor, who is a fantastic sewist. And I basically just cribbed off of Cloak & Tailor. So here's the actual body piece here. It's really quite simple in terms of construction. There's a body piece, there's sleeves, and then there's a collar. So we're gonna go ahead and start cutting. The interesting thing about this that I've had to sort of mentally think about how I'm doing this is it is cut on the fold and then it's cut on the fold again, the body piece I mean. So it is interesting, and it's really fortunate. Cloak & Tailor has a YouTube video which kind of goes over how to do the construction method, and I'm going to link that and the resource for making your pattern in the description below if you want to make your own, because it's very handy. I am all set up to cut out the lining. It is a little bit confusing, but it's really quite clever when it all comes together. In the very beginning, you fold it hot dog style. So you have your full length of fabric, you fold it this way. Then you pin the bottom of your pattern, going all the way up to the top. When you get to the top, you fold the fabric again over backwards. So under this, I have 2 fold lines here. And over on this side, 4 different layers of fabric here. So I'm going to be cutting 4 layers of fabric at once. And what that does is this will be a fold, this will be 2 folds, and it's going to be the front and back of the pattern piece all cut together. And I will snip, 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 snip up the front to create the opening. so the way this silly thing works is this is essentially the neck, and this will be the front slit, but we've got the back of the garment and the front of the garment and the beginning of the sleeves. And this is the outside fashion fabric, and this is the lining. So I'm just going to marry the two up, wrong sides together, get it all pinned in place, and then I can start on the construction seams. I did it. I ended up having to lay it all out on my floor to do, so I didn't get a lot of video of it. So it is just a huge amount of fabric, which is why I had to lay it out. It's basically 3 meters long. But now it is pinned, the lining to the outside, and it is ready to start sewing. Yay! It is pretty exciting. Like, I held it up in front of me, and it was just like, oh, it's a giant fucking bathrobe kimono. I love it. This is where things stand right now. It is probably my bedtime, so I'm gonna leave things as they are right now, but everything is cut out, everything is more or less in place except for the sleeves, and I haven't done any sewing yet, so tomorrow we'll be sewing. I'm delighted that things seem to be working just fine. I've got the collar pinned in the T section here. This will be the open front, and I think it's gonna be really good. I'm pretty stoked about it. So, see you tomorrow. Alright, it is now T-minus 8 days. I just got off from work. I am home. I am mostly recovered, and I am ready to sew in some collars. My goal for today is to sew in the collar in the T-slit on the Banyan, and then also the sleeves. We'll see if I can get it done. Let's go! So I have a large selection of thread that I've just sort of like quasi-inherited, and this is one of them. I actually really like the color. I don't think I have enough on this particular spool to do the whole coat. It's a relatively homogeneous looking feeling to the rest of the colors. It's not a perfect match, but I think it'll look really nice with the blue and with the sort of, I guess it's also kind of a blue. It's like a blue-gray. I think it'll look really nice together. I'll do my hand sewing with this for sure, and if I have enough left, I'll do my construction seams. Otherwise, I have very similar grays in other quantities that I can use as well. So yeah, these are actually, I think, fairly vintage, shall we say, and it's kind of fun to be able to give them life, finally. They've probably been around for a little while. I wish there was a price on them. That would be the only amazing thing. Oh, you know what there is? I jinxed it. I was looking for a price sticker. It says 29 cents. There you go. Well, I'm gonna get more than 29 cents out of use. So, thanks, Grandma. Okay, I was gonna start, but actually there's a short aside, which is that I bought a whole pack of needles, like a whole pack of brand new needles, because I was like, gosh, my needles are getting a little dull. It's time to, like, refresh them. And you know what? These suck. But you know what doesn't suck? These ancient time needles. And you know what? These are really really sharp. So, yeah. Screw you, modern needle pack, and hello 19 whatevers. Again, I wish there was a date on here, but all I have is this little section of it. It was clearly like split up. So here you can see, I don't know how much you'll be able to see on camera, but there is a significant difference. The top one here, this is the vintage one, and this is the modern one. Maybe you can see it in the way it picks up the light. This one is just blunt, and this is like, stab you. I would like the stab you needle, please. Collar is in. I ran into an issue that I probably could have predicted, which is that the outer fabric has a lot more give and drape to it, and so there's actually some spots where it is not exactly square just because it was very movable when I was working with it. And I thought I pinned it down real good, but you know, things move. I probably should have started with the lining actually and used that as my guide, because this is a very tightly woven, very structured cotton. It has a wonderful drape and it has a wonderful feel, but it is not as slidey. This one feels like I'm working on bias even when I'm not, and I'm wondering what the, I don't know what this weave is exactly, but I can see how it would, yeah, it's, okay, that literally explains it. The weave is diagonal, which is fine. It makes it for a really fun drape, but I should have been paying closer attention to that when I did it, but it's fine. It's like a quarter of a centimeter difference. It's, I'm being a perfectionist. It's fine. The collar is in, and we now move on to the sleeves. All right, up next is still the sleeves, but my partner came home and made me a gin and tonic, so we're gonna do tipsy sewing, which is always a wise decision. So the way the sleeves work is you sew it kind of right sides together of your fashion fabric like you would most things here, with your linings on the outside, but you only sew together 3 of the segments. You'll leave one of the lining pieces out so that you can hand fell it into place afterwards. It's kind of a nice way of giving you kind of a hand finished look while still using the machine to do the construction seams. T-minus 7 days, which means 6 working days left of time to work on the fancy, ridiculous historical bathrobe. So yesterday I did the sleeve attachment for both sleeves, and that was where I machine sewed in and then whip stitched or felled the seam allowance of the lining in place so it has a nice clean look on the inside. Now my job today is going to be doing that exact same procedure to the entire side seam, both side seams of the garment. I don't know how much I'm going to get through today. It's not in the pattern that is provided, but I don't see any reason not to. I cut out some pockets to add to the side seams as well, because you just need pockets. You just always need pockets. So I think my plan is going to be sew in the top half of this and then try it on and sort of mark where I want the pockets to sit and then finish it up from there. So I have a quick update, and I'm hiding what the update is because it's monumentally stupid and I feel the need to share with the world my stupidity. So I finished one side. I was starting to pin up the next side to do the felling, and I was using my iron, obviously, and somehow I set my iron down on my seam ripper. So RIP my seam ripper, but also my iron is cooling right now because potentially RIP my iron. Alright, I think miraculously we're gonna be okay here. My mistake was dire, but this here razor blade seems to be capable of removing it. So I'm gonna put this down so I have both my hands and maybe save the day. I did it! It came off! Yeah, so that happened. I think my plan is to electrical tape that into a new handle and move along. T-minus 6 days. I'm kind of tired today, so I don't know how much I'm going to actually be able to get done, but my goal is going to be to get the pockets in, the side seams, and finish the side seams up. But it is definitely approaching the shape of what it needs to look like, which is exciting state. I also need to dye my hair in the next 6 days. And I say 6 days, but again, it's really 5 days because day 6 is surgery. So, yeah, I gotta dye my hair, gotta do a bunch of laundry. We can do it. We can do it. Let's go. Alright, it's T-minus 3 days. I took some time off in the last couple days and I needed it, but the result of that is it's gonna be 95 degrees today, and my sewing room is my bedroom, which is the upstairs of an unair-conditioned old house. So this is gonna be an exciting day. Look at this big weirdo. My room is the hottest room in the entire house right now, thanks to the big light, which he is using as a strange headrest, I guess, and the iron. But he is in here with me anyway because he wants to hang out. Isn't he a big sweetheart? Yeah, you're a big sweetheart. Yeah, you are. Alright, I took a brief break there to bleach my hair because that will not be a comfortable action for me when I have a surgery. So I wanted to get that out of the way, and I'm gonna dye it, I think, blue. So you guys are gonna see a whole transformation here. It is like really freaking hot. It's 95 degrees outside right now, and I'm about to turn my iron on again. And I'm under a big light. Hang on, see if you can see this. Yeah. So I'm very smart is what I'm trying to say. I'm a smart one, and that's what's happening. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening in this just because there's so much material, but I have both of the pockets in. Like, I did them kind of stupid, honestly. Don't do what I did when you do your own side seam pockets. I made it work, but it was kind of silly. But I have those in, and I have the side seam pockets in, and I have the inside felled. I've decided to leave like a 2-foot slit at the bottom underneath where the pocket bag ends, just to have a little bit more mobility when I'm walking around in this thing. So I'm gonna plan on, from now on, basically doing machine stitching. It's T-3 days. I am a little bit shy on time, and I think it'll be fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn these inwards, so up in here, and then essentially do a little placket. And that will let this kind of flow free, but still look quite nice and tidy. Alright, a couple things happened. Obviously, I turned my hair blue. It's still really, really hot. I did manage to get a bit done. I still need to pin the hem, and I'm kind of procrastinating because hemming requires using the iron again, and it's really hot. But let me show you what I just did. So again, this is confusing because there's just so much material. But here's the side seam, here's the pocket. Underneath where the pocket bag ends, I ended up deciding to do kind of an open slit. So that is just machine sewn, you know, kind of pinned together like that, and then I just did sort of a false placket at the top here. So I think it looks perfectly fine, perfectly suitable, not, you know, hand sewn, accurate to history, but you know what, that's okay. Oh, I did that for both sides, that's all finished up. What's next is to do the hem. Okay, it's another really hot day, but that's not the important thing about today. The important thing about today is that tomorrow is surgery. It's T-1 days. It's go time. There is no more time to dither. So all I have left to do is the binding on the cuffs and then the opening of the robe. I decided to do a binding rather than anything else just because it's a little bit faster, in theory, and also because I can do it on the machine. Zoom zoom. yeah, it feels really weird to be going into surgery tomorrow. I guess like I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop this entire week and it never did. So I guess I'm getting surgery. Yay! That's how I feel. Even as like I'm sitting here sweating because I turned my iron on, that's how I feel. I feel good. So for the opening of the robe here on both sides and the cuffs, my plan is to do just like a 1-inch binding basically to cover the raw edges. I don't actually have enough of the lining material to do it, unfortunately, but I do have this sheet I got from the thrift store, and it's like this really soft material actually. I kind of like it. So I'm going to use this. It's a very close match to the gray. It's not perfect, but I think it'll be close enough. So I'm going to measure the cuffs and the opening and cut out my bias binding. It's not actually going to be on the bias because I don't have to go over any curves. Everything that I'm binding is a straight line. So I should be able to save a bunch of fabric and just do it on grain when I cut. I want the cuff and the opening to have the same size binding. I think that'll look nice. And I'm going to have it be 1 inch. But the way bias binding works, even when it's not on the bias, is you essentially need 4 times that size, because this is your piece of fabric, you're folding it over like a staple, and then you're folding that over, and that's what hugs the edge of the garment. We're going to do one cuff first as a proof of concept. So I measured the length around the circumference of the cuff, and it was 9.5 inches on each side, so 19 inches. And I added 1 extra inch for seam allowance, so that'll be a 1/2 inch on each side when I sew it together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this into my bias binding type shape. Alright, so here's my bias tape that I will be using on the cuff. And yeah, you can see there's no raw edges. It should just encapsulate the raw edges of the cuff. So I'm going to sew it together so it's a nice little pretty loop with no raw edges for the binding, and then pin it in and sew it. It is complete. I think it turned out fantastic, and it's fantastic timing because, yeah, tomorrow is surgery. In 24 hours, I will be hopefully asleep wearing this.
What do you have to say for your adoring public?
I did it! Yay!
I think if I hold this shot, a kitty might... Oh, never mind. She's not doing anything.
Oh, it's worth a try, though. Okay.
I'm gonna pan down to her.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You can stop whenever you want to now.
But I'm getting such good footage.
She's perfect.
She is.